Larana, live from the very center of the universe, Canton, Ohio. Yay. Thanks for being here. This is Rose Garden Radio. And in case this is your first time, Rose Garden Radio is dedicated to helping you shift from what we call 3D to 5D, living a life deeply from our heart and living our dream life because you can. And I'm here to help you. So sometimes we do a pie story, PIE, and you can see I upload this it's on my Facebook, but for 30 days, but I upload this onto my YouTube channel called Rose Garden Radio. So you can see some of the inspiring pie stories that we've heard through the months and years and however long that we've been doing it. Anyways, I've been doing it a long time. I maybe just started putting them on YouTube. But anyways, without any further ado, you have been helping me with my Weekend with Aunt Larana young adult book, and I'm doing the deep final edit dive before I publish. And I appreciate you listening and giving me any feedback or comments like you have. And I'm going to read a little bit more for you today. So let's see. We ended last time that Amy and her Aunt Larana were back in Canton having breakfast and talking, and they're still in the dining room, and we'll start off from there. And this is Amy speaking. I started looking around the dining room, noticing all the plants. A large peace lily was near my chair with a single white bloom rising amongst its leaves. I remember when I was around 12 or 13 and we were visiting you at the monastery, you told me when the peace lily in your living room was happy, it moved its leaves. I got excited and looked over to see it moving. Hold on, I've got excited in there twice, so let me edit that out. Bing, bing. There it goes. Then I saw the unbelieving faces of my mom, Lance, and Julie. I know now that I stopped the magic that was about to open up for me, I told my aunt. Yes, I remember that moment too. You were almost able to see the leaves move then, Aunt Larana said lovingly. Let me add to that moment. TOO. Okay. This is that same plant, Amy. It's much bigger now and still very happy, she laughed. The plant seemed to sense our conversation because I swear I saw its leaves move as if a very light fairy breeze had passed through them. I feel so good here in your home, Aunt Larana. I know there is so much more for me to learn about life than I have been taught or experienced, I told my aunt gratefully. That doesn't sound right. I feel so good here in your home, Aunt Larana. I know there is so much more for me to learn about life than I have ever been taught or experienced, I told my aunt gratefully. That's a great personal insight, Amy. I believe that the beautiful mystery of life unfolds daily if we let it. Maybe that's what you're picking up on, Aunt Larana said. I felt a tingle run through me with her last statement. Time to get motivated, Aunt Larana said, taking the last sip of her coffee. Taking one. How about one last sip of her coffee? I'll put our dishes in the sink while you get ready. I want to spend a little time in the back garden before we go, so let's meet out there, my aunt said, and headed into the kitchen with an armload of dishes as I ran upstairs. Now, there's a couple, it's kind of like a new section, and this is in Aunt Larana's voice. She's out in the garden. The minute I stepped into the garden, I felt a change in the atmosphere, lighter and more alive, yet simpler. Like a sommelier at Gervasi Vineyard, I sniffed the air, recalling. Definitely French, I laughed, as little champagne bubbles seemed to float around like dandelion fluff tickling my nostrils. But what about the vintage? It felt old, yet new, brave, yet timid, with untold adventure ready to pop its cork. And then it dawned on me. It was Amy again. Her deep desire to know the outcome of Benjamin Franklin's memory had brought us here. It's a good thing I stepped out first, I thought. I looked down and noticed that I was wearing a very fashionable gold evening gown, and I recognized it. It was the same gown I had worn to the ambassador's ball in 1778. My ears felt the heavy dangle of the diamond and morganite earrings I had worn that evening, too. Unfortunately, I had lost them over a century later, so I was hoping they would return to Canton with me. It all started to make sense. Amy had brought us to the exact day I had met Benjamin Franklin, and by the look of things, it must be approaching early afternoon. She should be thrilled after her initial shock wears off and I can calm her fears of not getting back to Columbus in time. I glanced up at the back of the house. It looked like the same timeless medieval fortress it always did, although I noticed my flower garden was different. Exotic wildflowers and poppies existed among the fuchsia echinacea that normally live there. Or I should have said that now live there. Well, let's say normally. Okay. And a delightful new potager, a small kitchen garden, was growing near the back porch, which was now open to the air instead of enclosed by custom windows. Hundreds of cosmos, which I had been trying to grow since I moved in, were growing wild between the bricks in the courtyard. My sweet alyssum flowers had turned into huge hardy mounds that hung over the banks of their raised beds. Now I fully understood why they had been called the night's flower, and that's with the K, night's flower. While on the road, I'll say too, I should say something like, well, anyways, the flowers told me their story. While on the road, a knight would seek out a mound of the sweet alyssum for his bed because the mounds are truly hardy and plush like a mattress. While he slept, the sweet fragrance of the flowers would heal him. Just then, I heard the back door and saw Amy walking into the courtyard. I empathetically sensed her feeling the air, taking everything in, just like I had. A smile bloomed inside my heart. My inner knowing had always been right about this triplet, and I was excited to see what would transpire in her life because of it. Aunt Larana. And that's where we're going to leave off for today. And thank you so much for listening. It really, truly helps me to read this out loud to an audience and just kind of get that flow and feel of the story. So until we meet again, Have a beautiful week, and I'll see you soon.